What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to give you my review of X-Men 97, Season 2, Episode 8, Dead Man's Hand. Well, I guess the title of this is kind of metaphoric in the sense that from looking at the three additional writers that was on this episode, aside from Bo DeMeo, it seems like this was where he was off the project. And that's why three other people needed to come in and put an and on it. I've never seen so many ands in a written by episode that's only 30 minutes. So, be that as it may, this is the long awaited return of Gambit to the show. Not said that he's the horseman of death, but most comic book readers and stuff already know that's what happens to him. Now, the episode opens with the new X-Men at X Corp sitting around playing cards, which is kind of telling. And while they're sitting there playing cards, Rogue laments about how nice it is to have friends around, because it does make her a little bit sad. They're sitting there playing cards. Cards was Remy's thing. Remy's not there. She messes up. Now, earlier in the episode, in the start, you saw Rogue having a nightmare about seeing Gambit, but also about being on Genosha and doing her dance and having a dance with Gambit. And it dawned on me during that time, it's like, yeah, she doesn't have anybody now because Magnus is gone and Remy is gone. You lost out on both things. No, that's what you get for being greedy. In a sense, it seems wrong, but I'm just teasing. It's kind of sad for Rogue because the two people she has a real romantic connection with are both gone. So now she's just, back kind of alone in the world. It has to be irritating to be around Scott and Jean and, not be able to have anything for yourself. Be that as it may, a plane starts approaching the X-Corp building on Genosha, and they put up the defenses to later find out that it is Cable and X-Force coming to Genosha because they need to talk quickly. And when Cable and company land on Genosha and open up the plane, they have the body of Apocalypse in a stasis tube there. And they have some things to talk about with the X-Men, and Apocalypse being dead is lowest on the list. Now, at this point, this is where Jubilee hands Rogue the card they found in Greece, and it's the Queen. Now, the problem with this is that the amount of damage on this card changes from scene to scene. From the last episode to this episode to later on in this episode, it changes twice. Like it was obviously different animation teams, and they didn't have a continuity person on there to understand how damaged this card is, because it can't show up less damage in every scene unless you have different animation houses working on this, and they weren't communicating. There is nobody watching that kind of continuity. So, be that as it may, it's a minor thing, but it's something that bothers me. The other thing that bothers me about this is I was never a fan of the idea of Apocalypse needing to swap bodies to stay alive. To me, because I don't remember that from Rise of Apocalypse or any of the other stuff that I've read, that is a holdover from the Stargate movies that they grafted onto Apocalypse to try to make him unbeatable. I understood that he slept for a while, like Odin, but not the swapping body stuff, because that makes no sense to me. It makes no sense for him to need that, because his original mutant body was so powerful. And it just got upgraded by Celestial. There should be no reason for him to have to swap body. None whatsoever. His original body couldn't be killed as it was. There's no reason to swap bodies. Be that as it may, X Force is here with the X Men, which is nice. You get to see a lot more of our characters, our favorite characters together, or at least my favorite characters together, because in this episode, there are four of my favorite characters in the episode all together, be it Psylocke, Archangel, and Havoc closer to the end. Now, Cable and company kind of convince Xavier to try to find Remy, that the cat is out the bag, that Remy is alive, and he killed Apocalypse. And they're trying to find him. Well, this is where you get the introduction of Cerebra. And it hits me when they say it this time, because I already knew it happened in the comic, and it never really bothered me at the moment in the comic. But thinking about it now, in hindsight, the over-feminization of the X-Men universe, this is one of those things, with changing Cerebro into Cerebra. Like, wow, that's kind of funny. Never had a problem with it before. It was a new version of it. Fine, whatever. Little sister, cool. But Xavier jacks into Cerebra and starts to look for Remy. And he finds Remy back home in Louisiana, but Remy senses him and grabs him. Now, this is something that Remy has not been able to do before, and it was really unclear what exactly Remy did to Xavier when he grabbed his astral projection. I thought he took the astral projection over because of how it was animated, the stuff coming out, Cerebra helmet, all of that. No. Xavier just got the idea that we need to go pick up Remy post haste. So he dispatches the X-Men with X-Force from X-Corp, and they head off to, I believe, Louisiana to go grab Remy. Now, while Remy is in Louisiana, we get to see the Assassins and Thieves Guild again, because he has sent them invitations to Belladonna, his one-time betrothed ex-girlfriend, and his brother Andre. Calls them to the chapel to show up, and then they get to see that it's him. And they're shocked because they know he's dead too. But what you see is a display of his powers that he has not had before, meaning that he has a deck of cards that's just floating. But he's able to put cards at everybody's necks, and they're just floating there. And this is telekinetically. Now, it's showing that Remy's powers have changed a lot in some ways. But this is the distinction. This is the distinct way that it has changed. In a moment, the cards hit the people that they are lined up against, Belladonna and her crew, and Andre and his. And he takes over their minds. So now they are a part of him. He's under their control. They can act autonomously, but they're under his control now, which is a kind of cool effect, because it's like making a legion of zombies in a sense, that everybody you touch, you turn. Kind of put plays on that and the vampire kind of thing. Kind of cool. They get red eyes. They keep fighting the way they usually fight. It's kind of cool. Well, by the time that X-Force and the X-Men, the new X-Men, get close to Louisiana, they are beset by Remy, the Assassins, and the Thieves. And they break into the ship and start having a good old superhero fight. Now, this is the first of said fights that just happen out of nowhere with, I'd say, little context to have a fight outside of them trying to get Rogue. But, you know, how he knew they were on the way, that Rogue was with them, who knows? Doesn't matter. But you are seeing that Remy is a lot more powerful, And the rest of these X-Men are kind of outmatched to fight the thieves and assassins guilds together. That's kind of problematic. But it makes for a good, visual of a lot of fighting, little context, which shows that more than Bo DeMayo actually wrote this episode because that's what they're good for. Now, Rogue does finally get to see Remy, and instead of Rogue or anybody else actually helping to save this plane that is being destroyed and is going down, they have a moment to just, have a face to face in a heart to heart in the cargo hold of the plane, which to me is stupid because I'm thinking, stop the plane from crashing first. Who has time for this when the plane is going down? What's the holdup? Anyway, Remy and Rogue actually do get to talk, and she does get to speak to him. And although the X-Men's grand plan is to get her close and let her touch Remy to free his mind, when she touches Remy, nothing happens. Apparently, being dead, her powers don't work on him anymore. So he can touch her, and he does touch her. And he seems that he is in control of his faculties, and he talks to her. Well, because, time is sort of the essence, he touches her on her forehead and puts her to sleep with his power. That's a new thing, but kind of cool. Now, the next scene shows another extent of his power, which is kind of cool, which is he goes to get on his flying motorcycle and take Rogue with him, and Nightcrawler comes in to rescue Rogue. Well, Remy throws a card at him. Nightcrawler disappears and comes behind Remy. And the card that he threw makes a loop through the air and then homes back in on Nightcrawler. It actually gets him. It's like, well, that's a lot cooler that he just has homing cards now. That's a lot cooler. Now, I say this because I was not reading comics at the time that Gambit had got turned into the Horseman of Death. So I missed that run completely. So I don't know how closely the powers that Gambit is displaying in this episode of the show compares to his powers in the issues of the comic. I don't know, but it'll be fun to go back and figure that out. But I say that to say what is being showed in the show is actually cool upgrades for his abilities. Now, Gambit gets away with Rogue. The assassins and the thieves get away. And now, with the combined might of Psylocke and Jean and Cable, the X team is able to land Cable's plane, or the X-Force plane. Now, this bothered me a bit because, one, Jean should be strong enough to do this herself. Two, Jean and Psylocke together should be strong enough to do it. And three, Cable definitely should be strong enough to do it himself. But between the three of them, they were only able to land it a little bit. This to me means this is written by people who don't know the power levels of any of these characters. They just know they do something. They don't know the power levels. Because if anything, if it was a stretch or a stress, Cable could have done it himself. And the only thing that would have happened is his techno-organic virus in his arm would have started freaking out and making his arm mutate more. Because most of his telekinetic power is used to keep that stuff at bay in his arm. It's like Wolverine with his adamantium. Adamantium poison is poison inside the body because it's a hard metal inside the body. And Wolverine's healing factor is actually slowed down a lot because it's always fighting the adamantium poison. Simple explanation. But that's not what happens. It takes with him where he can actually touch her. The only problem is he's fucking dead. Right? Now, what Gambit does is he tells Rogue a story about what happened with Apocalypse. And this is where they weave in something that recently happened in comics that I am not overly fond of. Okay. They didn't use the name, but I know the story. And it's the story of Genesis. If you remember the one character back in episode 3 or 4 that was working with Kang, that woman that was there, and Kang pieced out and said to stop Apocalypse, it'll take something external. And everybody finally got the picture like, hey, that's the chick from the Thieves Guild ceremony, right? Yes, it is. And Remy tells Rogue this story about how that woman did meet Apocalypse later. Obviously, not long after he got finished walking past Xavier. And at a point, Apocalypse gave her a portion of his power in a jewel. And it made her an external. Now, this woman reneged on her deal and took that power and pieced out and left Apocalypse heartbroken because they did have a relationship for a little while. Now, this is funny to me in the sense that Rogue having the conversation with Apocalypse about, feeling love and loss, I thought would play into why he would even try to revive Remy in the 90s at Genosha. But this part of the story thrown in there gives you a reason that Apocalypse did know love at some point and then knew the pain of having that love lost to him, or at least being tricked. And trust my chicks. He's holding loyal. So Remy is out to look for that portion of power that is in a jewel in the external. He's looking to get that back from her because with that jewel, he can give it to Rogue and make her immortal, and then they can be together forever because Remy now is immortal. It's news to me. Now, that struck more as a vampire story than anything else. And one of my favorite endings for a vampire movie, Dracula 2000, where that's all Dracula wanted. He turned the chick just so he can have somebody to walk through an endless lifetime together with. It's interesting. Interesting kind of a little romantic note there. So, with the Assassins and Thieves Guild, Remy sets out to call the external. They place their ties, they do this little sacrament to call her forth, and they call her forth and she shows up. Well, when she shows up, you see that Remy actually kind of turns. And he is not afraid of this external. And when she does her normal bluster and talk and stuff like that and actually charges him to teach him a lesson for not, bowing down to her when she showed up, Remy stabs her straight up. Now, you don't see what he stabs her with at first, but it does look like a sickle sticking through her chest. He takes the jewel from her and she dematerializes, and that is it. The external is out of there. She exits. Now, Remy with this jewel now turns to Rogue, who was there with him in a wedding dress of sorts. And before he can give it to her, the X-Men show up. And we're talking about all the X-Men and X Factor. The X-Men that were at the mansion, the X-Men that were at the Genosha, and X-Forces with them. They all show up for Remy because they take him down. And that's not what's about to happen. So herein goes the next fight with the free-for-all for everyone to get to Remy and stop him. Now, the X team does not exactly know what he's doing. They just know they need to stop Remy. And so this is another fight that happens without real context. There's no talking about what is going on. They just jump into a fight right away. This tells me this is a different writer. It's another writer. Doesn't know the characters, don't know the situation. He's just writing, well, all these people are on the screen together, we fight. Okay, awesome. So much for pushing the story forward. Now, during the fight, you see something really cool, which is at a point during the fight, although there's a lot of extra people here, Storm takes out about the six members of the Assassins and Thieves Guild combined out of there. And then it's just Gambit, Rogue, and Nightcrawler, with the X side consisting of at least seven other people: Storm, Cable, Archangel, Psylocke, Jubilee, Sunspot, Professor X, Beast, Cyclops, Jean. I mean, Wolverine, everybody is there. It's the whole 12 pack of X, okay? And that's not enough, because at a point, Nightcrawler just started going ham. It's an old word, but it works, because apparently 12v1 ain't nothing for Nightcrawler. Man, they started getting wrecked by Nightcrawler. And I'm laughing my ass off because it's so funny. Because he went after Psylocke. It's like, yeah, we just saw him using the blades. I don't know if you want to tangle with her. She out of there quick, bro. He is soloing the X-Men, Nightcrawler by himself. It's soloing him. I'm like, he didn't pull out a blade or nothing. Like, bro, he hurt too much for you. Now, this kind of is a good scene, because you're seeing how disorienting it can be to fight Nightcrawler in a group where he can just bamf all over the place. You don't know what the heck is happening. You caught a punch one minute, you're falling from the sky. The next one, it is so much happening in a short span of time that look, they ain't got nothing for Nightcrawler. They better call Exodus back up, because they ain't got nothing for him right now. He is controlled by Remy, and he is doing a damn good job of just soloing these fools. Well, thanks to a little bit of, I think it was telepathic help, they got Nightcrawler, knocked down off his game and knocked down, and that saved him, because he was still kicking their butt. And in the midst of all this baffing and beatdowns going on, Remy just jams the stone right into Rogue and kind of turns her, right? She falls out from the power, in a sense. And then Xavier invades Remy's mind when Remy comes after him. And then you get to see what it was he used to kill the External. Remy pulls out his bow staff, and the bow staff flips out, and then a blade flips out of it. It looks like a scythe. And he goes after Professor X. And Professor X is able to beat him back, knock him out for a half a second, and then it's off to the astral plane, boys and girls. Now, on the astral plane, inside of Remy's mind, or inside of Xavier's mind, whichever way you want to look at it, this is where Xavier is unbound, in a sense. And he goes after Remy, expressing his dominance, because this is the mental space. This is where Xavier is king. Well, what you see is that Remy is unafraid. And in this realm, Remy can do what he wants. And he brings the fight straight to Xavier. Straight up. Xavier is on his heels for most of this fight. Now, that's a stark difference from seeing him fight the Shadow King in there, fight other people in the mental realm, and get into his whole Centurion form and stuff like that, and still getting, handled by Remy. You're seeing a more extent of his powers and how he's using them just to explode things or charge other things, and how his cards and stuff like that work. It's like, man, he got no fear right now. This boy is a problem. Well, during the course of the fight, he does get tripped up by Xavier, and Xavier does get the upper hand, and he is kind of paralyzing him and trying to pull the real Remy out of him. And in the midst of pulling the real Remy out of him, they find out that his darker version of Remy has Apocalypse inside of him. it's not just Remy, it's Apocalypse. And Apocalypse talks and taunts Xavier because he can't pull Remy out, can't get him out. And Remy is sucked back inside of Apocalypse, and you get a scene that's really another precursor or push towards an onslaught because the color that they show Apocalypse inside this mental scape is it is an onslaught color. It is. And Apocalypse talks to Xavier, reminding him of Magnus's death. And Xavier gets mad all over again. He's crying and he's freaking angry. And I'm like, boy, they're just going to keep pushing this towards that onslaught moment. It's going to happen. This scene doesn't have the same weight as when episode 4, I believe it was, happened. Doesn't have that same weight, but you know things are on the way. That you can't keep pushing Xavier's button with this Magnus death stuff, right? You might as well stop mentioning that. This is a sore spot for him. You're going to push him over the edge. Well, because Apocalypse swallows Remy back up and is gloating for half a second, out in the real world, Rogue kind of reaches for Remy's hand, is trying to touch him. And in a moment of unexplained power, Rogue enters the astral plane and is able to pull Remy out of Apocalypse. How she entered it, don't know. Xavier didn't call her. Is it the power of love? Their hands weren't touching in the real world. How did it work? Do not know. This would probably be one of the other writers, because it's actually not explained either. But Rogue is there, and she is able to save Remy, where Xavier couldn't. The telepath couldn't. Pull him out of Apocalypse, and then Apocalypse is sucked into Remy, which in the real world results in Remy coming back to his normal coloring and still being kind of catatonic. Xavier tells the rest of the X-Men it's over. We got to go. It's time to get. And they peace out. Now, this is upsetting to one person in particular, which is Cable, because while this psychic battle was going on inside of Gambit, X-Force pulls its trump card. And the trump card is they're going to hold back all the rest of the X-Men while Cable kills Gambit. That he was playing along with them, playing nice so he can get close enough to the target and take it out. And he is serious about that. He is trying to end Apocalypse for good. Well, the X-Men do fight with X-Force, and that doesn't happen. It gets delayed, and the time that it takes in the delay is the time Xavier needs to save Gambit, and then they peace out. Everybody that was under Remy's spell is now free, and Nightcrawler bamfs them out of there, and they're gone. Cable is upset. Now, back at X-Corp, Xavier tells Rogue that Remy will not be able to hold Apocalypse back for long. And when Apocalypse comes out of Remy's mind, Remy will be lost completely. So there is something else in another episode they have to do to actually save Remy, because right now he is catatonic. He's hooked up to a machine. It is what it is. But Rogue is kind of happy to have Gambit back. Now, on the Cable front, Cable and what's left of X-Force, because Sunspot and Jubilee leave with the X-Men, they're having a little bit of a disagreement about what they're going to do. Their numbers have dwindled, but where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And they are set upon by X-Factor, led by Havoc, Cable's uncle. Whether he knows that or not, I don't know. But since they haven't done any work to establish that Alex and Scott are actually brothers. Maybe they'll get to that in the next episode. Who knows? X Factor comes in. They don't fight with X Force. They don't want to fight. They call Val Cooper in, because everybody needs a woman handler. And Val comes in and talks to Cable and lets him know that maybe they can work together. Maybe there's something they can do to deal with the problem that they're both having, which is the X-Men. Why Cable and X-Force would help them at all when the X-Force is family? I don't know. Maybe because Cable still wants to kill Apocalypse? Maybe. He knows where he's at. Working with X Factor, though, they just fought these people not too many episodes ago. Why would they be working together? Be that as it may, that's where the episode ends, with the inclination that there will be a team up with X Factor and X Force, and they will take on the X-Men. Okay. Got to even out the sides a little bit. But that is the episode. And my view on the episode is that there were some good moments. And for the number of writers that's on this, I would say that anything having to do with lore and having that correct was probably Baltimore. Everything else was probably the other three writers. Because the episode went along really quickly, and something that Bo doing usually has a more even tempo, and it has more in it. But this one, it just went along at a huge clip, and the X-Men were in some ways ineffective against even fighting against assassins and thieves. They even let X-Force get the drop on them with a deception, even though there's a telepath on the team. She should have been able to pick up something. A hint that something wasn't going to go right. Or she shouldn't have been there. So while there was some stuff to chew on in this episode, the teasing of Gambit being the Horseman of Death for so many episodes, and then to get to this and it's wrapped up in one episode, kind of makes it unfulfilling. I expected a little bit more. And 4 writers on one 30-minute episode is problematic to me, no matter how you slice it, especially with all the executive producers on it. They had the same number or more executive producers on this one episode. Too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. So we got an episode. It looked good. It moved along. I saw some stuff that I thought was cool, some newer stuff thrown into an older context and mixed up. Fine. But they didn't resolve the fact that Rogue has this damn immortal life jewel stuck in her damn chest. They don't say what happens with the external, besides her dematerializing, which we're just supposed to accept that she's dead. If you know anything about externals, that's not how it happens. There are more ways that they stay alive than that. So, I don't know. It was a rush job to get to a point. And like I said, the 4 writers on one episode shows that the title of this was more than just the intro to say this is where Gambit comes back. It is actually a sly little nod to Bo DeMeo being gone. So That's my view of it anyway. But that was the episode. That was my review of episode 8 of season 2 of X-Men 97. You can check out the full watch along with this and my commentary on Patreon, Shop Talk with Artisan MC. But until next time, like,